I've never seen a diamond in the flesh. I cut my teeth on wedding rings in the movies, and I'm not proud of my address.
We're not just building muscle, we're building men. In the quiet hours, in the unfiltered moments, in the conversations that happen before the world wakes up. This is the Glue-OOM, where brotherhood forms in the dark so we can lead in the light, where vulnerability is strength and leadership is handed from man to man, one story at a time. Our mission is to empower, exhort, and inspire men to achieve their best selves through stories of reinvigorated male community leadership. We bring you weekly interviews with F3 Omaha packs, ordinary men doing extraordinary things in fitness, fellowship, faith, and leadership, because we believe that every man has a story, and reinvigoration starts when that story is shared. This is the Glue in the Gloom. Shout out to our sponsors, Exclusively Eye Care, Major Team Mortgage, Liberty Core Real Estate, Avior Wealth Management, and Omaha Laser Dentistry. We appreciate their support. Now let's get back to the Gloom. And we're back. I love starting off the show that way because that's an old school sort of 43 feet thing from Dread and Dark Helmet. And today we get to talk through some exciting stuff that's really a way that F3 Nation is supporting local regions. And in the F3 Omaha region, we've got some exciting stuff coming up with GTE this summer. And so I've got Rollbar and Linus with us here, and fellas, just to kind of get the conversation going, let's do a little name-o sort of age name. Gosh, how do we even do this? How do we tell an F&G to do this? I forget, right? It's nickname, hospital name, and then age, right? That's how we do it every day. So Linus, start us off.
Danny Stokes, 53, Linus. My home F3 region is South Sound in Tacoma, Washington.
Nice. You guys say respect out there? Because you're 50, right? 53, respect.
Yeah. Yeah, we do the respect thing.
Awesome. Yeah. Go for it, Rollbar.
I'm Jared Hensley, 48, Rollbar.
And I'm Brandon Flehardy, 40, The Plague. So, guys, as you're listening, what we're trying to do here is really, I had been talking with Linus and Rollbar about GTE 68 that's coming to Omaha in June. And just how do we tell guys what it is, right? How do we tell them what it's about? What does GTE even stand for? And what could a guy expect if they're looking at registering for this event? And Linus, I wonder if you would just maybe talk us through just what is this all about? Why do we do this? And then would love to hear like sort of what should a guy be expecting if they're looking at registering for GTE 68?
So GTE is the premier leadership event, custom built for men of F3. And an F3 man's journey, at some point, the fitness and the leadership that's learned during a morning beatdown kind of reaches a ceiling. So the founders of F3, Dread and OBT, and their wisdom way back in 2016, put together an event called Grow Ruck, which married up Grow School, which they were teaching at the time, virtuous leadership, with a Go Ruck Tough Challenge, which is a 12 to 14 hour overnight ruck-based fitness endurance event. Those two things blended together to create Grow Ruck. And I was actually the very first cadre of Grow Ruck. So now some, 8-9 years later, we have evolved into GTE. So the event that's coming to Omaha on 6 June of this year is the best version of this event. We've taken 65 previous GTEs, and every single time we iterate and improve on it. And so GTE, it's broken down into 4 phases, starting on Friday night, ending on Sunday morning. And the mission of GTE is to reinforce the F3 mission formula, to teach leadership principles and transfer positive habits in order to accelerate regional growth.
That's I love it. There's so much to unpack there. Um, so really, this has been a foundational part of F3 Nation for years, right? It sounds like since the early days. Um, as you're looking at, and I think for guys in the F3 Omaha region that are listening, right, we've got the registration in PaxNet. So if you can kind of click on there and go read through. But one of the things I wanted to just kind of tap in. So just to give an overview of the event, right? So is it a Friday night into a Sunday morning, or can a guy jump in on Saturday, or what's sort of the event, sort of, if you were to give an overview of the time and dates, and then sort of the activities within there?
So the whole thing starts on Friday night with something that we call a rally, and this is pretty informal, and in essence we're breaking bread and breaking the ice. So it's just a
Mm,
chance to get together for a social call. Usually it's at a pub or a restaurant. So we'll have a dinner together, and there'll be sort of some opening comments by a couple of our trainers, just to kind of set the tone for the weekend. And then after the rally, everybody goes home. So there's really no physical part on Friday night. The next phase is Saturday morning. We start with a typical F3 beatdown, except there's a little bit of teaching in this one, and we call it the King Builder.
mm,
So this will be cued by two of our Freedom Ops trainers. So it takes on the flavor of kind of an F3 convergence, and a lot of regions will shut down all of their AOs on that Saturday morning and kind of build it as a convergence.
mm,
And both of those things are free, by the way. You don't have to pay or register to do either the rally or the King Builder. Right after the King Builder, uh, you'll get some quick breakfast and coffee, which will be provided on site. And then you roll right in to the third phase, which is Grow School. So Grow School is you're in a classroom environment. It's a leadership seminar about virtuous leadership. The curriculum comes from QSource, and we dig in deeply to the G3L formula. There's a lot of breakout sessions and small group discussions that'll occur, and so this is scheduled on Saturday morning from about 8 a.m. until noon. If if someone registers for the full event, the full GTE, then Grow School is included in this. This is basically the schooling that will be applied during the overnight portion, the fourth phase, the main effort, which starts Saturday at 6 p.m.
mm.
The Crucible. So this is where everything comes together, and this is the most difficult part of the weekend, the most impactful part of the weekend. But let me go back for a second. Between Grow School, which ends at 12, and the Crucible, which starts at 6 p.m. on Saturday, you'll have the afternoon off to maybe get a little bit of sleep, uh, finalize the packing of your rucksack, meet up with your team members, and be standing tall in formation exactly at 6 p.m. when your cadre team they're going to roll in, they're going to do a roster call, and then it's time to get it on.
Mm.
So that Crucible, um, while you can attend just the Crucible and miss the rally and the King Builder and the Grow School. We have men do that because of scheduling conflicts or whatever. It is possible to do just the Crucible overnight, but you kind of miss the schooling portion, and you miss a lot of the fellowship that happens earlier in the day. So it's ideal to do the entire weekend,
Mm.
and vice versa. We have men who, for whatever reason, are unable to do the overnight Crucible. It could be family conflict, work conflict, injury. So sometimes men will participate in just Grow School, and then they have to sit out the overnight Crucible. So it's kind of pick and play which phase you want to do, but the whole thing is built to be comprehensive Friday night until Sunday morning. Then the
Nice.
Crucible ends so shortly after sunrise on Sunday morning. We'll conduct a what we call a culminating exercise, and then index, the end of the exercise, which has a closing ceremony. And this is a pretty powerful thing. We invite family members, children, uh, pets, spectators, other F3 men. The closing ceremony is designed to be observed and have spectators to congratulate those men for achieving uh, their GTE accomplishment.
That's awesome. I appreciate you walking us through there. I am curious. So it does sound like, and I don't know, Rollbar, if you know, but it does sound like we have some opportunity, right, to get the whole region involved, right, in terms of that first portion with the rally and maybe even a convergence for the King Builder. I don't know if we have that in motion or not, but I don't know, Rollbar,
Yeah.
any ideas there?
We do have plans to do a large workout for the King Builder. I don't know if we've officially decided yet if we're going to shut every other AO down on Saturday, but for certain, the King Builder will be happening at Oracle at the 7 a.m. workout. So there's an opportunity to bring a lot of guys around and really make that a fun event. That's a great time. I've done, this will be my 5th GTE. And the King Builder's a lot of fun. You get to see that positive habit transfer exercised. You get to see, guys really just converge together and do a great beatdown that really is educational and teaches the purpose and why we have shared language and why we count cadence and all those things. It's really, it's a great time and it's a lot of fun to see guys learn that stuff.
Nice. I love it. So is that, would that be similar to like a Q school kind of vibe, just with different guys training, or what, or how would you compare that?
Yeah, I would say it's pretty similar to Q school. A lot, very focused on that concept of positive habit transfer.
Okay.
In the ones that I've been a part of, they're going to grab one of the newer guys and teach them how to, correctly call an exercise. The next exercise is the side straddle hop in ready position move and cadence exercise. It's, and drill that until they get it down. Right.
Yeah.
And then passing that on to the next man is kind of the process that they go through. It's really cool to see a newer guy stand in front of, 100 F3 guys, and a lot of them are wily vets, and learn that process and then be able to teach it to the next guy.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's really cool. And I am curious, I'm noticing, right, on the registration. So you could, the preference or the recommendation, right, would be do the whole weekend. But it looks like a guy could sign up for the grow school, if that, depending on schedules, right? So I love how you kind of said that it's, kind of pick and play, because you could do, if you can't make the overnight, you could sign up for that grow school, be a part of that. But also, if you can't make the grow school, can you do the crucible? It looks like you can, but I don't know. It might be challenging, but looks like you can do.
You can. If somebody has to miss grow school, they can do only the crucible, the overnight ruck challenge. That is possible. It's just that you will have missed the schooling that you get in the classroom, and you'll miss some of the fellowship that occurs during grow school. But yeah, you could walk in blind to the crucible and still have an amazing event. Yeah, but it's all designed to fit together.
Yeah, I love
I
it.
kind of like going, having done this multiple times now. The way I look at it is you're taking all of those leadership principles and getting them into the forefront of your mind. Even if you've done Q source a dozen times because you've been in F3 since day one here in Omaha, you get those Q source principles about virtuous leadership in the forefront of your mind, and then you go off into the crucible ruck, and you're in a controlled high stress environment is the way I kind of think of describing it. Is, the cadre are putting us under stress. We're able to exercise those principles in that controlled, stressful environment. So, one of Dred's favorite phrases is high visibility or high stress, low visibility situations, right? We're literally in a low visibility situation. It's dark. It's stressful because you're tired. This is a long event. So, being able to exercise those leadership principles in the midst of that controlled environment it's a very cool opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it too, and I think that may be part of the point, right? Is that's, and it seems, almost like we were doing some of the LDP, there's some schooling, apprenticeship, and then maybe you've got like your opportunity, right, to apply those things is maybe the crucible. I don't know if I'm looking at that the right way, but talk me through. I like how you said it there, Rollbar, and for those of you that know Rollbar, right? Rollbar is the guy that shows up to queue with the heaviest stuff in the back of his truck and is going to really work you to the bone. But when you say the cadre are giving you opportunities, what does that look like? Is a cadre sort of opportunity? Does that mean like IPC style workouts? Does that mean a bunch of burpees, carrying heavy stuff? What is that? Or maybe all of the above?
Pretty much all the above.
Okay.
There's a high level of fitness that they want out of us. There's a lot of endurance that's going to be required, and a lot of that endurance is really just between your ears. Like as an
Yeah.
F3 guy, if you're out there posting a couple of times a week and you're working hard, you're going to be able to complete a GTE. You may not enjoy the whole thing if you haven't trained up for it a little bit, but you're going to be able to complete it. But you're going to get some, there's typically like a hero wad in the middle of the night. There's sandbags to carry. There's logs to carry, maybe, whatever, some sort of implement of woe, I think Dredd likes to call it, that shows up. So, we definitely will have the opportunity to carry some heavy stuff and share a little bit of suffering. But that's the beauty of a GTE, is that we're challenging ourselves, and, we're walking away from that with that little piece of cloth that says that we completed it. But what really matters is just the change and the learning that we get along the way.
Mm. Yeah. I love it. So we locally, right, we just did in January what we call our high impact retreat, right, which is a really third F focused retreat. And I do often hear guys say, "Well, we should do something like that in the summer." And so those are some of the guys coming to mind. Like, hey, now to me, it's maybe more leadership focused, but I could totally see you getting some third F benefit. I don't know what's been your guys' experience on that.
Yeah, I mean, the third F is definitely baked into the whole weekend. One of the times that we focus on our faith during the crucible is at a portion of it that's called the sunriser. So early Sunday morning, after the men have endured and survived the doldrums of the early morning hours, when the sun comes up, in the army we would refer to this as solar powered rangers. When you see that sun coming up after a long night, it kind of rejuvenates you. And this is typically when men are at uh, their breaking point. They're exhausted, they're sleep deprived, they're kind of questioning why they're there and how much longer is this going to be. And that's the perfect time to let the Spirit really move some men to share testimony. So
Mm.
we will pause deliberately at sunrise. All of the cadre and all of the support and all of the participants, we all kind of ball of man and watch Bob, that big orange ball in the sky, and then we'll reflect on the meaning of all of this. And so the sunriser is a special time. Beyond that, some events have a specific charity focus or a specific outreach focus. So there could be third F that extends beyond the the start and finish of the event.
Mhm.
Oftentimes our GTEs will take on a particular theme. And for this one coming up in Omaha with the historic date of June 6th, we selected two Army veterans as our cadre that will be leading GTE 68 because June 6, 1944, when the Allied forces, invaded Europe on the Normandy coast of France, uh, tons of opportunity to exhibit leadership and teamwork and communication. So GT 68 will take on a historical theme that
Mm.
matches the Normandy invasion.
I'm not sure if I should be excited or terrified about that, but I love that you're tying that in. And this is something that I think guys that like F and Gs or guys we haven't EH'd into F3 yet, right? You often get the question of like, well, is this like a military thing, or and for those of us in F3, we know like there's not a requirement, right? You don't have to be in the military or even have served. But I would be curious. One of the terms that we keep mentioning, and I think Rollbar has sort of brought me up to speed here in previous conversations, but wonder if Linus, you could just kind of talk through when you say cadre, what does that mean? Who are the men that are kind of being selected, and why might that be different than just showing up to a workout that one of my local brothers is on the queue for? Like, what's different about that?
So cadre is a military term that we use in the Army, and I think a couple other branches of service may use it. Uh, as far as I know, that word traces back to the French military, and as far back as like the Continental Army and here in America. But in essence, it means instructor. It's
Mm,
just another word for military instructor. So within Freedom Ops, those team members who have gone through Cadre Academy and who have gone through the qualification to lead these events, we bestow that title onto them, cadre. So these are the guys that are leading your event, and they they have a level of training and qualification probably higher than just a standard Q. Uh, now, that's not a universally true because I don't know what background every single Q out there has,
sure.
but in order to stand up in front of a GTE formation and lead that event, we want to make sure that our team members, our cadre qualified team members, they absolutely know how to enforce safety. They absolutely know how to control large groups of men in a stressful environment. They absolutely know how to deliver the effect that that we're that the event is intended to deliver. And many of them at this point now, after 65 events, have had significant experience. So that's who we're talking about with and specifically your cadre team is going to consist of cadre Akron, who is formerly the F3 Nantan of Greensboro, North Carolina.
Mm,
He was in the U.S. Army. He's served as a drill sergeant, infantryman, and then also Cadre Power Clean. He is currently the head of sectors for F3
yeah.
Nation, formerly the F3 Nantan of Jeffco, Missouri, and and then our trainers that will reinforce the cadres. We have Waterboy coming out of Katy, Texas, and I'm not quite sure who the other one might be, but you guys got an all-star lineup of event leaders.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I think, yeah, I think it is special, and I think there's also opportunity if it's guys go to a GTE event, right? For other guys to sort of say, hey, I'd love to get trained and sort of figure out how to be on that team too, right? If I'm reading correctly, I think that's an opportunity. So if guys are interested, right, is that something guys can do?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so once a year we run a event called Leader Course 48, and we used to call it Cadre Academy. As a matter of fact, that's how I just referred to it a second ago. But we rebranded it Leader Course 48 because we have men go through that do not want to become cadre, but they want to get the experience that a cadre learns so that they can go home and either lead CSOPs, or you can do with that knowledge and experience whatever you would like. But usually once a year, this happens, and the 48 part of the title kind of lets you know it's 48 hours of training. So half of it will be academic, where we teach risk management, route planning, CPR. I mean, all the skills required of an event leader. And then the other half of it, the other 24 hours is you're in a live GTE environment where you're actually leading GTE participants under the supervision of a qualified cadre,
Mm,
kind of an
that's awesome.
apprenticeship on the job training effect. This is how we bring new team members onto the Freedom Ops cadre roster. You 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 have to have passed Leader Course 48 before joining our team, and then once you pass that course, then you still have to go out and do your cadre and training event. As a matter of fact, I just remembered Omaha. You're going to have two cadre and training that went through our last leader course, which was last July. Uh, so you'll have an opportunity to see how this process works.
Nice. I love it. Tell me a little bit, so in my mind as I'm walking through, the weekend here. So, we do the rally, and do I go home and sleep in my nice warm bed that Friday night, and then I go Saturday? But then there's sort of this gap on the timeline. I get the impression I'm not going home to sleep in my cozy bed on Saturday night, right? That Crucible is an all night, overnight event. And I think I've heard you kind of say it, but like, no sleep allowed, or is there sort of like I hold the sandbag while my partner takes a nap, or talk me through like sort of the wee hours of the morning,
Yeah.
as guys are sleeping or not sleeping, or what's that look like?
So that gap on Saturday afternoon, I encourage you to go home, get a good meal, get some sleep. If you can get an hour or two of sleep on Saturday afternoon, that's really going to help you with your sleep debt, which is going to accumulate overnight. You will not sleep during the crucible. So the intent is to induce sleep deprivation. We're,
Okay.
we're obviously we're trying to push you beyond your perceived thresholds. You're going to be hungry, tired, sleep deprived, probably wet and cold. It's designed to be uncomfortable and to induce a little bit of suffering. It's designed to strip away all of your strength reserves, to where you really have to dig deep and want to support your brothers to complete it. The the team building tasks that you'll do during the crucible are next to impossible for an individual, but in a team environment, they are possible. So
Mm,
we're intentionally, we're taking away your timepiecing devices. We're keeping you confused and disoriented. Uh, we're 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 putting you in an environment where you have absolutely no control other than lean into the task, support your brothers, get the work done. So most men and even many F3 led CSOPs are never going to push the packs quite to that, to that horizon. And we do that at every GTE, and we do it safely and effectively.
mm.
But back to your question, I would definitely get some sleep on Saturday afternoon if possible.
Yeah.
Most men, they're a little bit too nervous, too keyed up, to really get some rest. But it will benefit you if you're able to do that.
Yeah, I love
Typ-
it.
Typically, I've gone and do a quick gear check when you get back to the hotel or get back home. Make sure your stuff's packed. Take a nap, or just lay down and be quiet for a while, and then get up and do a second gear check, and then get to the event site. One thing I'll tell the packs of Omaha is there's going to be a packing list that says mandatory, and the word mandatory is quite literal. If it's on the packing list, pack it, because if not, then Akron's gonna firmly plant a foot in all of our rear ends. So
Yeah, I love it. So so on the overnight, right? You've got a rucksack with whatever gear, supplies. Is this, everything from like I guess I get the impression there's not a lot of roasting marshmallows around a campfire and singing kumbaya, right? You're on the move the whole time, right? That's where it looks like maybe up to 17 miles rucking through whatever terrain it is in June, and then stopping for some workouts. Like, tell me a little bit more about what I could expect during that Crucible event.
Well, like Rollbar mentioned, there in the beginning there's some administrative time where the cadre will inspect the packing list to make sure everybody has the required items. And these items are for your safety, and some of these items are for some of the team building events that we'll do during the night. But we expect adherence and attention to detail. So if the packing list says 4 quarts of water and you show up with less than that, well, now you're already screwing your team over, and there will be mass punishment. So in that case, everybody will do the disciplinary action for that one individual to learn that 4 liter or 4 quarts means 4 quarts, not 2 quarts of water and 2 quarts of Gatorade or whatever or anything less. So we start with some administrative stuff, and then we have a period of individual fitness, something we call a welcome party. And then following, and that's all kind of static at the start point, and a lot of times that's kind of fun for other F3 men to watch, or what we call shadow. So guys that might want to go out there and observe, they can do that. And then we'll begin our movement, our ruck-based movement. So the route, as you just said, is 15 to 17 miles altogether, but we stop along that route and do various activities. A lot of it is teaching. A lot of it is staging for the next team building iteration, which could be, the task could be to move an implement of woe a certain distance in a certain amount of time, and then various contingencies happen along the way. Notional casualties or route changes or various ways of adding more stress onto the leaders. Also, speaking of leaders, we will frequently change out the participant leadership team. So, and then when we do that, we conduct an after action review to give that man some feedback from his peers on what he did well and what he needs to improve. So that gives him a quick reinforcement of the lessons he just learned. But more importantly, the next guy that takes that role as a squad leader or a platoon leader, the next guy gets that information right up front, so that there's a cumulative effect of learning that happens all through the night. But by the end, the idea is that everyone has had a leadership position at some point during the Crucible and has received feedback through our AAR format. But all that's happening through the night. So, we're rucking, we're stopping, we're talking, we're learning, we're rucking, we're moving. There's just a lot of stop and go, a lot of teaching. But then there's some moments of intensity that occur as well. Typical loadout is about 45 pounds. So anybody that's listening, if you're putting together your training program right now, 4 months out, this is the perfect time to start. But yeah, your bag, your rucksack, your backpack is going to have about 45 pounds. That's going to include 30 pounds dry, meaning if you were to take all of your water out, all of your food, all the consumables out of your bag, it still needs to weigh 30 pounds. Most men will use a ruck plate, like a steel plate that weighs 30 pounds, but it could be a sandbag, it could be other tools. But so you've got your rucksack, you've got your 30-pound plate, you've got your event's going to have a 6 liters of fluid requirement. 4 of those will be water, 2 of those optional electrolyte solution. So that right there is 12 pounds of liquid that's in your bag. And then there'll be some clothing, a couple items of clothing. This won't be a cold weather event, so not too much to pack in your bag as far as clothing, but you'll probably have like a windbreaker or a rain jacket, something like that, work gloves, and then whatever nutrition that you need to sustain yourself. So it could be marshmallows, but we're probably not going to stop to roast them. but typically, the type of nutrition that you would need in an endurance event
Yeah.
is, so you're gonna have, you will have opportunities to eat during the crucible. So that, I mean, that's a typical loadout. And then of course on top of your individual bag, your individual rucksack, there's team gear that has to go with you. So whoever we assign as your platoon leader will decide how the team gear is distributed. You'll carry an American flag, you'll have some medical gear that will be transported, and then whatever other items the cadre team show up with that need to go with us to accomplish the mission.
That's awesome. And there may be, I mean, I think I've seen some photos of Helmet on a stretcher, maybe as part of one of these doing a man down drill, or, so there might be, so you never know. I love as you're describing this, right? I think we try to do this in just a standard F3 workout, right? Where like through the workout, you learn leadership principles. But I think there's something significantly different when you sort of push beyond, like you can't mail it in, right? You can't, like, you don't really have a choice, and it's you're just really pushing beyond, like you said, sort of your perceived limits. Whereas like in an F3 workout today, it's even IPC, right? I know, okay, I'm going to go hard, but it's going to be 30, 40 minutes, maybe an hour. And then I'm going to go home and, kind of be on with my day. I would be curious, like, as you just in your guys' experience, like, why do you think that is, that sort of pushing that far helps us learn leadership? What do you think it is? I don't know. More of a curious question than anything.
I think the opportunity to exercise, like I was saying earlier, the opportunity to exercise leadership in a stressful environment is the key. Um,
Mhm.
it's easy to be a good leader or to do things well when the sun is shining and you're well rested and everything's going the way you planned. The saying goes, nobody gives a crap what you can do when you're fresh.
Mm.
When we get out there and you're 6, 8 hours into this thing and you're tired, and now you got to figure out how to get this gear from this checkpoint to the next checkpoint, and everybody's there. Everybody's in the same place of tiredness. They don't have much left in the tank. You got to figure out how to do it. And you got to figure out how, as a leader, if you're the platoon leader, you got to figure out how to motivate and lead those men to get the task done the way that the cadre want it done. And that's a good way to exercise those leadership principles that you've learned, or that we've learned through years of F3, right? So
Mhm.
doing it, it's easy to do it in a 30, 45-minute workout. Do it 6 hours into a 14-hour ruck and see how it goes. And you're really able to kind of exercise those things in a different way and see them in
Yeah.
a different light.
It kind of comes back to why F3 even became a leadership organization. If you think about why Dread, and mainly Dread, but also OBT, but if you think about why they even baked leadership into a fitness pursuit, and I'm sure you guys know, when this thing started, it wasn't called F3, and it didn't have any other purpose than bringing men together for a morning workout, right? But Dredd served in the U.S. Army. He was a Green Beret, Third Special Forces Group, and I also served in the Army. I was a Green Beret as well. But every soldier, when you go through basic training and you learn the PT formation and you learn how to do PT, physical training, at that very early age, immature age of a soldier, you're already absorbing how to lead. And this happens at every single F3 workout. When you have maybe you have a newer packs or an FNG, and they're observing the cue, and the cue is calling 4 count cadence, and the cue is in command of the outcome, and when you observe the cue and you're going along with his instructions, it seems easy. You're just following along, and you're like, how difficult could this be? The whole peer led thing, like anybody could lead this, until it's your first time to actually lead it, and you're stumbling over your words, and the workout that you came up with doesn't make any sense. It goes too long or too short. It's too easy or too hard, and that happens because that's how leadership is learned.
Mm.
And the Army does that from the time you're a private E1 in your morning PT formation. You're already learning leadership just by working out. And then that transfers to every other aspect of leadership. It looks easy when you watch somebody else do it, but then when you're in the hot seat and all eyes are on you, that's a different story. And
Mhm.
so extrapolate that to the crucible.
Mhm.
When you're just under a ruck or under a log and you're just nugging along and you're thinking like, why doesn't the platoon leader do this or why doesn't he decide that? Well, you'll have your chance, and then you'll see that okay, it's a different story when I'm the one making the decisions, when I have to take in all this information, when I have all these factors to discern that when I was just a knuckle dragger under the log, I wasn't even aware of all that. So by creating that situation, we're inducing leadership. We're stimulating the demand that that leadership requires.
I love it. I think too, as I've just hearing you guys talk about it, I think about this, and I don't know where it comes from, but just this idea that when you're exhausted, you sort of revert, to the level of your training or your habits, right? And so like I can plan, a 60-minute workout to lead really well during that, but then how do I lead when I haven't had a chance to plan, right? Sort of what are those skills? And I love the embedded AAR. I think that's something that we, at least here locally, we don't do enough of. And I think the feedback, just the candid, like real time feedback that you can get from another man, about your leadership is, that's priceless there itself. Well, this has been great. And I think for me, just eye opening, I think and unfortunately, and sorry, Rollbar, don't be offended, but when I hear Rollbar talk about GTE, sometimes I'm just like, I don't know that I want to go carry heavy stuff for, 24 to 48 hours. But when I am, as we've unpacked it here, it's a lot more than that. I think I can see why Rollbar likes to carry heavy stuff. He's maybe learned that from some of the exercises, but I think just knowing, just like F3, it's really all about leadership and teaching men how to lead. The workout or the physical aspect is just a mechanism that helps us do that. So give me just one more time as we're thinking about the event. So this is coming up June 5th. So that's a Friday, right? June 5th through the 7th, 2026. And that's here in town. And it looks like maybe specific location or geographical area is still in the works. Is that accurate, Rollbar?
Yeah, that's right. Just generally speaking, right now it's right here in F3 Omaha. We have the privilege of hosting it. So location of the crucible itself TBD, but all that stuff's coming out here soon.
How much land do you need? You want to do it out at my place?
Might be helpful.
Yeah, we can talk through that. I would maybe be interested in that. Maybe that's my in. That's how I get
There
on
you go.
convince the wife to let me register. But this has been awesome. Anything as we're kind of wrapping up, anything that maybe we didn't share, any sort of last words you would want to tell guys as they're thinking about registering, um, anything that come up for you guys?
This is something that every F3 man needs to do, without a doubt. A Rollbar is unique since he's done so many of these, and that's how I got to know him. I served as his cadre a couple of times out of his. How many have you done? Five GTE.
This will be my fifth, and so
This will
four.
be five. Awesome. So you're gonna get, assuming you finish, yeah, you'll get a silver oak leaf cluster for your finisher patch. So that's pretty cool. Those are rarely handed out. So and what I'm talking about, an oak leaf cluster is a small device that soldiers wear on their ribbons anytime they get a subsequent award.
Hmm.
So we've started that tradition with GTE finishers. So your first event, you get a patch that says, you've completed the thing. And then the second time you finish, you get a single oak leaf cluster. This is an exciting opportunity for Omaha. And I just love that it's falling on the D-Day anniversary, 80,
Yeah.
82 years. Um, and I'll give you a little historical vignette. My great uncle, my grandfather's brother, Uncle Junior, he served in the 101st Airborne Division. He was a combat engineer during World War II, and he was an airborne paratrooper who had the rare distinction of also being a qualified glider
Hmm.
soldier. So, not a job I ever wanted to have. If you've seen what those gliders were made of, but he was there in Normandy and fought in the Battle of the Bulge with the 101st, and um, so from the time I began learning about that era of military history, I wanted to go there and kind of see that terrain for myself, and um, watching Band of Brothers, it brings it all home. So 2 years ago, on the 80th anniversary, I was able to travel to France, and I did a Go Ruck Tough challenge there on Omaha Beach.
Wow.
It was incredible. Um, I'm still kind of processing what that event meant to me, and what occurred there on those beaches all those years ago. Anyway, you guys are going to get a taste of that theme during your Crucible, delivered by Akron and Power Clean. Power Clean, actually, when he was in the Army, he was a historian, so I know he's
Hmm.
going to bring a historical element to include some teaching and probably some terrain models, and really help remind us of what our forefathers in the greatest generation, what they accomplished at that time.
That's awesome.
On a personal note, I just want to encourage guys, like every one of these events that I've done, A, it's developed my leadership, but B, it's also something that, because I'm kind of meditating throughout the night on the things that I've learned, and those leadership principles, I've always come away with something that changes how I handle some aspect of my life, whether it's my self-talk or how I show gratefulness to my family and those that I care about, or how I lead in given situations. Every single time I've come away with some sort of a life altering mind shift.
Hmm.
So not only is it a great opportunity to develop your leadership skills, not only is it a way to accelerate the growth here in Omaha for F3, but it's also an opportunity for personal growth that really can change the way that you do something.
I love it. Yeah, I think it's just I'm grateful that the two of you took time to talk us through what to expect, and excited to see as we get closer, as more guys sign up. I think just a reminder to local guys here, and as you're listening, sign up is in PaxNet, right? Get out there, get registered. I think, and then to me, like, get your shield lock to go, right? Whatever, like go with a group of guys, that maybe, and then also just continue to help announcing it. I think the more we get the word out, the more guys are aware of what's coming, and can get signed up so we can continue to experience that growth. I just thinking of some of my leadership roles within F3 Omaha, and just what a great thing to go through, before planning, a CSOP, or before planning some of those events, in addition to all the leadership skills that you would gain. Right. So I love it. I appreciate you, fellas. I know we did a NAMO at the beginning, but it's hard to end without a NAMO. So let's do it again here. I'll start us off. Brandon Flehardy, 40, The Plague.
The plague. Ah! Jared
Ah,
Hensley,
Plague,
7, Rollbar. 48, Rollbar.
Rollbar,
Obar, Danny Stokes, 53, Linus.
Linus.
Linus, respect. Awesome. Appreciate you, fellas.
Scars Scars on our hands, hope in our chest. We're not defined by the weight of the test. Brothers in step, we carry the flame. Different roads, but the heart beats the same. Every man's got a story to tell. From the valley low to the mountaintop, yeah. Every man's got a story inside. Standing strong, we won't hide. Every man, yeah, every man's got a story. We've been broken, we've been bruised, but we rise again and we don't get to choose. Through the fire, through the fight, every man's story burns in the night. Scars on our hands, hope in our chest. We're not defined by the weight of the test. Brothers in step, we carry the flame. Different roads, but the heart beats the same. On a story to tell, from the valley low to the mountaintop, yell. Every man's got a story inside. Different roads, but the heart beats the same. Every man's got a story to tell. From the valley low to the mountaintop, yell. Every man's got a story inside. Standing strong, we won't hide. Every man, yeah, every man's got a story. Every man's got a story. Voices rise like thunder, they roll. Truth in the pain, it's shaping the soul. Chains may rattle, but they break in time. Every man's story is yours and mine. From the struggle to the glory, every man's got a story. In the dark or in the light, we keep marching through the night. Every man's got a story inside. Every man's got a story to tell. From the valley low to the mountaintop hill,